All right, Liberals are going to choose a new leader and a new premier by the end of the month, of course. And our next guest is the man who will be sitting right across the aisle in the legislature at Queen's Park from that new premier, whoever he or she may be. And that, of course, is Progressive Conservative leader Tim Hudak, joining us from Toronto. Are you excited about getting a new sparring partner there in the legislature?
Yeah, tremendously excited. You say I'll sit across from the House. That is if the House comes back, David. Remember, they sort of walked off the job back in October, and I'm not convinced they're going to bring it back anytime soon.
Well, and this is one of the issues. Maybe we'll start with this. There's some other topics I want to talk to you about that, I don't know if Liberals in this race are dealing with the frustration Ontarians had about Air Orange, about these power plants that got closed, the stuff that your party and others were investigating at the closure of the last session. Kennedy, I think, is the only one who said, it's wrong, we should get back to work. But everybody else is kind of not talking about it.
Yeah, I worry about that, and I think a couple of them have indicated they might delay the House coming back even farther, and here's why that's a problem. People pay us a good salary. They expect us to get down to work, to address the jobs crisis, to reduce spending, not just stop its increase. And I really worry, Dave, the longer it takes to get back into the House, that hole's going to be that much deeper.
I want to go back to something that was sort of newsy today, and that is the report of Ontario's Environment Commissioner. We had that little clip from Kennedy talking about green energy. But the point the Environment Commissioner was making, and I think you guys had a release about this, is that the Ontario Liberals have just not got it done when it comes to conservation. And the Commissioner was saying, and conservation actually is pretty cheap relative to building more power.
Well, sure. I mean, they talked a good game, delivered very little, and I'm not trying to be too facetious here, but their only conservation program seems to have been to shut down industry across our province. We lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Listen, we're putting out our own plan, David, and you and I have talked about this. We've got our own energy plan out there that actually sees energy as a strength for Ontario, making it about reliability and affordability. Historically, we had some of the lowest, most competitive energy rates anywhere in North America. We're heading towards the highest. That's costing us jobs. And secondly, on this green energy stuff you were talking about earlier on, I just don't think we can afford these outrageous subsidies for wind and solar projects. It's chasing too many jobs out of our province. We just can't afford this experiment anymore. Let's get back to basics.
Well, and the Environment Commissioner there is saying there's, before you look at those, just conserve. There's a lot of you can do there. One thing, let me ask you about this. I don't know how this may play. It may not be in your campaign. Who knows? It could be in the NDP. Is the Environment Commissioner saying we use in Ontario too much energy at peak times, and one way is to price peak energy 3 or 5 times more so that as a consumer I do my drying for my clothes at nighttime, do my dishwasher at night. Is that a way to approach the problem of conservation, to just price the heck out of peak power?
I'm not keen on punishing people who are at home because they're on shift work, or seniors with even higher hydro prices than paying today. I mean, the McGuinty Liberals have gone down that path to an extent with these smart meters. Here's what I'm worried about, though. It's jobs in our economy. And if we keep putting energy rates through the roof, raising taxes, more and more red tape, embracing these labor laws to endear ourselves to the union bosses that come from the 1940s, we'll never get out of this mess. In fact, I was in Toronto and London today, both talking about kickstarting our manufacturing sector, bringing good jobs back to our province. We've got a plan to do so. But, David, increasing energy rates, going down the path of more government spending, that's not going to solve those problems.
Let's talk a bit about teachers and unions. It's been an issue that has just been on the periphery of the Liberal leadership race. I thought it would be a more central issue, a place for the Liberal leadership candidates to differentiate themselves. If I understand you correctly, on Bill 115, Laurel Broten's idea to produce these arbitrary contracts, that's okay for you guys. You guys are advocating that. But what about other unions in the province?
We've called for an across-the-board wage freeze. I mean, we did support Bill 115, although at first we put our own plan on the table that I still believe is the right approach. And that's an across-the-board wage freeze for all of us in the broader public sector. So teachers, yes, but also doctors, firefighters, MPPs, of course. It does two things. An across-the-board wage freeze will save us $2 billion a year. I think it'd be much more effective because human nature is if you treat everybody equally the same, you're more likely to get buy-in or better cooperation. But here's what's important, too. The wage freeze is just the first step. You actually have to reduce the size and cost of government beyond that. And I don't think the Liberals get this. And when you watch their leadership candidates, it seems like the only thing they're talking about these days is how they can get closer with the public sector union bosses, particularly the teachers union bosses. That's not going to help. In fact, I worry they're making promises that are going to dig the hole even deeper at the end of the day.
Well, and that, you know, as we set up the spring, and who knows what the spring political season is going to have, depends on the premier. But as you guys are watching this Liberal leadership race, do you see them tacking a little bit more in order to neuter Andrea Horwath and the NDP, or maybe to sort of try and steal some voters who might be that soft, small C conservative, sometime vote Liberal kind of person?
I don't see much of anything except an effort to try to put together, I guess, the special interest groups that helped to support the Liberals in the past, this Working Families Coalition. So that's the teachers' unions, I think, were the big contributors, some of the construction unions. And what I worry about a lot is I'm not hearing anything that's anything new or that takes seriously the fact that we're heading towards a $30 billion deficit, the fact that Ontario, that should be the leader in Canada in job creation, in good fiscal shape, is now at the back of the pack. So I guess I can't do much about the Liberal leadership race or the lack of ideas, but I can do something about what we're doing. And I'm laying out piece by piece what we call Paths to Prosperity, a bold vision that's going to help bring jobs back to our province, to rein in spending, and actually focus government on what's important. I mean, healthcare and education, good transportation systems, breaking gridlock in the GTA. But, you know, in 2013 and beyond, David, do we need government selling alcohol in retail stores? Should we be running casinos? Let's focus on what core services should be, particularly in this deficit environment.
Let me ask you about, this is usually an issue more for national leaders, is about unity and every part of the country feeling they've got a stake in government. Right now, as you know, I mean, Quebec is really not a part of the Conservative government in Ottawa. There's a situation now where all these Liberal leadership candidates, except for Pupatello, are all from the GTA. We've seen the polls. Liberals, you know, it's Fortress Toronto for the Liberals. And for your party, some issues about gaining more support in downtown Toronto. Is that an issue for you, trying to make sure that you can represent all regions of the province if and when you should form a government?
Well, we need Ontario to fire on all cylinders. And I am worried about where the economy is in the GTA. It you know, historically has been a place that was a major center of job creation, and now the unemployment rate is above the national average. That's not where we should be. So we've laid out plans to help bring jobs back to our province, to the GTA. If I want to have a strong Ontario, I need Toronto to be firing on all cylinders. But a big part of that is also on the transportation side. I mean, this is the economic heart of not only Ontario, but Canada. But the arteries are badly clogged, and we've got too many chefs in the kitchen. It's time the province seize the wheel, start making decisions about transportation. That's highway infrastructure, that's transit, and I just believe that world-class cities, if we want Toronto to be there, build underground, you build subways, you don't rip up existing roads.
All right, well, Tim Hudak, I know you and I both, one as a journalist, one as a potential competitor, looking forward to seeing who that new premier is. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening now.
You too.